Sasisen pat kublai yapi baro bat pidang yai pek ya ko khubor jong Mawphor. Habengini ya chaprang bat ko khubor hagani kapor tungini pe ikimat ke bakongsan jong ko khubor kumne. Kikme kikpa kidon ke bynta ka bakraw baki khon kinom sha e lambakla ha ki kampen trim. Onchina sakajaka here ling sun ong UCM hadin ba play ya ka Shillong Technology Park. Don bon bha ki jing e ba ka jylla kamat ong uba George hakas ngi bashimti ku mushif web ka LP. Pensyai ka shnong mautneng halo ka jingkno ki longkime bakan tai ka shnong ban ai umbam umdi. Latep don buram ya kemet basa jong uba melker batlem lait plang nong tho khubor jong unong sain hima.
Ka jingker phat jongi na ka sarkar kong kum ki keme ki pa ngathai ngi don kam man dikit khle lang ni kan ni bat ban kentu ban ai ki jingmut ki jing perkhat ki khun ba kani kam de kalenti ka bangila ban poi sa kata kathong ban ong ba ngi e ya kata kari ka jaj ben riu lane ya ka snong ya ka thau barok ko wi ten reng ong e pi kalenti ya ka bangide ban ya ni la su tho e ba ka juk ka bamanta mde ka sans pos nem suwa ni ka juk ka batmai ka juk ka balong su kompetitif dengan asung ban ong ba nadu ki keme ki pa ki bahayeng basem jong ki khun samla jong ngaru ki khun ki ti jong anga asung ban ong ba ni hap ani kai mangi ki keme pa kanan ban penting na bagi khun jong i kin nam sa ya lambakla ha kini ki jajing mut ki jing perkat namar ko mo phi to ya thu yang ka e ki bakhat du ka e ki jing man toy de ta ki jing do ning man toy sudah bat ke su penting persmi ki beri nang ta ki bapli ki balui ki baptip ya kamneng kendo la dengi le kamneng nga thai kam bha bat kam itana tena ka daw ngi na kalyang ka sarkari na kaan kan ya chepmat la ka jong ka banta ban ne khanang ba ko mo phi kam de shu ban jia kan ni ka e ka ban kta ya ka im ya ka yap jong ki paj ba no so snong jong ki jylla jong ki bro ko wi
Umentri rang ba ka jylla u konrat ke sangma ha ka sngi balang ula play pa iba ya ka project ka bakraw tam jong ka jylla ka Shillong Technology Park ha Sauli New Shillong haringkat ka jingadon lang umentri ka tanat Information Technology and Communication ba Hamlet Dolling madru umentri ka tanat PHE ba Renekton Lengdo haba kren ha ka ne ka sngi umentri rang ba ulaong ba ka Shillong Technology Park kadai ka way na kilay spa atli ki project jong ka sarkar jylla ka bon play ha uni u araja ar po ar kum shibenta ka jingra ke ya ka jingdap san post nem jong ka jingyo yala ka jong ka jylla haba kren pat halor ka yo kam yo jam u mentri rang ba uloong baha ka kala ka banungkong jong ka technology park kan sa ai kam ya kumba khatan spa ngut ki breu henry la antat bakan pen mentoy pat sa kumba laisha na ka te bakin sa yo kam yo jam.
I personally have been looking forward to and thinking about for the past 12 years, 13 years now. And this is something that people have been talking about for the past 20 years. And every time you read a proposal or a report from NASSCOM, they will always say and talk about the human resource that the Northeast has and the potential that the Northeast has in terms of the ITES sector. And so to be very, very frank and blunt with you, we are actually 20 years behind. This should have happened 20 years back. And we would have been able to take a huge advantage of it. But nonetheless, it's never too late. We realize that in the IT sector, the fact that the human resource is a very, very obviously critical part. All companies would like to ensure that they are able to connect and get the manpower at a much more larger scale and at a reasonable cost. And that is where this IT park plays an important role. So we have all our individuals, our youth going to Bangalore, to Bombay and to other large metros where the cost of living is much higher, where the real estate cost is much higher, and obviously it leads to the employment aspect also creating and becoming higher. So therefore, this coming into the picture is going to help most of the companies cut their cost by a huge amount. So that's the number one factor that we have to remember. The second factor why this is important is because this location here will allow the companies to have a plug-and-play model. Now we have to realize that companies don't have time to spend a year or 2 years to build up their building and create the infrastructure and then start the project. They need ready-made infrastructure. They need to be able to start tomorrow because they get their contract for 6 months, for 1 year, and therefore a place where they can come in and plug and play is ideal for them. Another very important aspect is that we have started the Shillong airport. And the Shillong airport is another aspect because connectivity is an important issue when it comes to IT companies. No CEO of big company would want to travel for 2 hours, 3 hours by road. You know, they want direct connectivity to the location. And therefore the airport is very close from here. And once we have the roads which are under construction, we will actually be able to bypass the entire Shillong city traffic and reach the airport from here in a matter of just minutes. And the fourth aspect which we have is we also are going to have the helipad out here. So the heliport is going to be in this land itself, and we are giving about 5 to 10 acres to transport department to put up a heliport or helipad out here. So obviously that again is another area, because we really need to think 20 years down the line. We need the kind of infrastructure that will allow easy access to this location, will be an incentive for people to come and invest and start their projects out here. And the last and the most important aspect for the ecosystem for the BPO industry to grow is accommodation. And as was being mentioned by the Honorable Minister, that there are big projects like the khubor project, which has been not completed for 3 decades. I'm happy to tell you that we will be completing it this year. So we are actually in the process. Taj Group has taken over that project, and we expect that by April to May, we are expecting it to be functional or at least completed. We are also expecting the Marriott Hotel to be completed. So once we have these 5-star units out here and hotels and accommodation, this is another area which is important for the BPO sector to flourish. So it's not just having an IT park, it's having the connectivity to it, it's having the manpower out here, it's having the airport connectivity, it's having the 5-star accommodations. All these aspects are very, very critical to make sure that the ecosystem for the IT sector and the BPO sector is there. Now that the submarine cables have landed in Chittagong, we are working very hard with Government of India and with the Government of Bangladesh to get those submarine cables connected up to Shillong. That again, as I said, is going to be a big game changer. And in order to see this industry and this sector grow to the heights that we envision and to take it forward, we will need the submarine cables, because we're right now connecting all the way to Bombay or to Chennai. And I think the cost and the speed is compromised in those aspects. So when it is right here below us, about 500-600 kilometers away, it would make a lot of sense to land the submarine cables right here in this IT park. And that's really one of the big challenges we have, but I'm sure that we'll be able to take it forward. So this is really why this IT park is a very, very important starting point, I should say, which will really completely change the IT scenario in the state. And obviously what it will do is going to create a huge employment for our youth. Now we have to remember that Meghalaya is going to add 50,000 youths every year to the workforce. 50,000. And this trend, because of the population growth, is going to continue for the next 15 years, 20 years. So therefore, as a government, we need to plan for this in the next 5-10 years, what's going to happen. We can't wait for the next 5-10 years to see that there's a large-scale unemployment. So therefore, when we have this, there's going to be 1,500 direct employment. That's direct employment here itself, and which we have already heard, the companies are already coming in. But we have to also realize that we are creating huge indirect employment. When we have people working here, there will be food that will be required, transportation that will be required, there will be recruitment that will be required. So you need companies, people will have to stay in hostels, people have to need accommodation. So there is going to be direct, indirect employment of maybe close to 4,000, 5,000 people just by this one IT park. So therefore, it's a huge source of employment. And As mentioned, our people have a natural instinct to it because of the language proficiency we have, and also in terms of the attitude and the aptitude that our people have towards this. So therefore, I strongly feel that this is going to be a great area for creation of direct and indirect employment also.
Jingjia jong khubor kumbagalong bynta da fipe hantam gini ka asnem hakaba kani ka covid 19 kala kata mai kayo kamyo jam jo ki samla nang ta kar bede bat ka jingjia jo ki nong kamai nong bela ki ba kamai sni nong kamai bela sni nang ta ka bede bat ki nong sengkang senjam poro kini lama ki jong ki jingjia kata di ka we abang ni ong yang economic aspect juga ni hamtam ka bedi kinurap lama bagi je bubun ni asnam dikini ki isu ke bakung ke parti ko kinang ilam la jura ya ni kicap ladam manang ni sakmat le ke badang chen ke bang dang jia mensu play abang ni ba na kalian jong ka syuk sungai ju ni stang man biang ke jing sakta ha ka bedi na kalian jong stang man kikli biang ki kisah no sedang ibian kata kajing ibor joki apa jylla jadi kapan sedang kata susu patu ya ke ba nim kwa ka ba ni kan kam ni susu ni sain joki beri kini oban kamai sup kini oban yusuk ha ka ni ka jylla ba kini oban ni habit ya biang profile kilian teknologi kini da piong jingjia jong ni kai jingjia joki school gumba kalau menta da piong bai de ba ko kya ka bai de pun ba ki isu ka ba kum ka jylla ni mat ina hap ni tre ya pen kemau ka yok sarkar ba pun kini tia ke bade bakang ba ki bai ba kanang yok jimutoi ba kin lai ni ji e ko bun extend ke ba
to lesgun ni pi bro ibaya pai lomba kan ni ka janmet lomba kan ni ka jing persai na kalian jong ka dorbar somo teneng jing persai na ka dorbar somo teneng bi de bat ka jing sya keno lagi kato kene ki nong snong i balaong ba kim syam layo ya kene ka water supply scheme ke habide kene nga kumu rong basno ngandon banong kumne ban bisai habide bat kene namar ba pitip baro ba isong thau layo ya ka water supply scheme ba ka JJM den re haka snong kejongi kamde JJM kede hijau ka state plan but ya kene ke scheme asrang nadu warjar khra te habide bat kene ngan brief kerja habide ba kumdo la implement ni kene ke scheme lang ba ki pai ba ki balasha ya sutu bakla insya i nadu asrang jong kene ke project na kalian ka PC department ki lawan sini ke personal masing-masing kene ke scheme na ke ba persutu yang ini kumber personal ba kamde isu untuk skim ke ba UA ke belum free service dari kalade ke por ke ba ngin haban siu ya kene ke de halo de kene ke daw ngiru ngilalum ya ke personal na dua de khatra so implement ya kene ke skim bat ka torbarhi kala menjur ban priang ya kene ke skim kat kum ka jingta ni kat kum ke jingpatai na kalian pici ba ngi de ban siu de ya kador ni patla no ni siu kono tupor dia lasnang yang kena skim lalu ajar aku menteri ke inter apa ya ke bangi layo pada ya ke intra yang ke house connection kami sudah ajar aku penai bakat we jadi kalau kena tahu bah mas nyo ya ke inter connection ke bangin ICT ying ya so ke community bangin perkemau ya ke berbar bah Shua bangin ai connection ni la pertapa iba ni la pertapa iba da ke bangin ong ba khamsuk hadin ba kino bakwa ya kene ke ide banwan ai terteng ban ni la perta snong lu arsin
ki bahayang asam kilok kijor ka office jo unong sanhima bat ka Shillong Press Club hakasngi balang kal ai kublai khadu ya ka met ka basa jo melkoyar batlam like plang unong thok khubor jo unong sanhima hakasngi ontep ubala khatno na kaneka sla perthei hakasngi baar ya kamet basa jong ba melkoyar latep dun buram ha ulum jingtep kabalang presbyterian Mawphor shwa banra ya kamet basa jong u sha ulum jingtep lapanlong kajia seng kajia selok berkijing duai hakaying sa jong u balapanyai de kabalang presbyterian Mawphor Layo ke jingkran lengkot bat ai kublai khadu na ka office unong san hima na ka Shillong Press Club bat na kibahi ngasem. Kum ban penkan mawhang ni boba melkoya batelem light phang ularung syaka kam thok khubor haus nem arja khatsan bat udai uwe ni kinung thok khubor ubala no senyang shikade e ya ka imlang ka salang lengba kilat pathai khubor.
Khao na bynta yin kesem jong unong san hima na kini kejing klat no kendip kensan jong ni paralog para ujungi belum shim ya kapua na kaliang ka office na kre kini ka kerwo sulam untuk kibahi asam kuli ka kumalong hai kong pabu ke siros like plum but kibahi asam jeng ba Mawphor batlam plum Nilai yang kubur kendit kalau kejing kelat no jong way di resort jong unong san hima ba Mawphor batlam like plum dia iba di jukut ye email akstap jukshitari urumpam arja ar kelang kubur kubur sola bengeng bat bengplian nomor dang hagamit jong gelai kuai tarik kelalin kot arja ar ba mel udang pa ing kubur syaka slem unong san hima ngai dilahap bengplian utara kubur daga binsim jong gejing saklur buat kejing bunga kejing kelat no jong mel kalong shisha kapal berkhan pin temang pin saklur ini baru kedai dan bynta buat unong san hima day hausnya ma'arjar kanyo wau ba mel lo pinyeso ikut kubur bat ulalong samlarang ba bakit kia dilagakam Baslur, Bashampang, Bangam Jalil, Banti, Jingjia, Bat, di Telakam. Long Ru, Samlarang Ba, Banang, Pinidai Korolok, Bat Kibril, Kylleng, Mawphor. Kejing Klat no, Jong Ba Mel, Lapin Kenja, Shlem, Nong San Hima, Asur Kabasawa Jam, Jong Liu Samlarang Ba, baju kumpul samrki singan ini bynta lakinja ngai niai pertu ya kibati jong female mat ni shimru ya kani galat ai kublai tapi na bynta usinyang coba kena peno show nong san hima nimla bensin kuliah ya female satu Mawphor ni ai kublai ru yang ilai ni jengmel kibahi nasam nomor hagi ni Islam mau mel dan bani kiru ni syashi tomlang bagi bubun kiliang ni temang abang iladu no yang bagi kubatoy bolong ru para uhenmen para ni duai pimpai sup paisai syaka bo glei unong bu unong thau lamang na bynta jong pingan blei shibun bat sup inside mel tunang terku yang kesam jong pi kamdami mai bat kunjuru yang kesam unong sai hima
yang ni como president ng Shillong Press Club baru moment I'll be honest with everybody, he came into my life very late. They tat adu nasdang niya ya ka jingim jungu haka thok akal haka long pathai kubor bangadai kendo ba you and got to know a fine young man who in a span of 7 years Araja Khatsang who joined the Sentinel but tang po arbanai ki editors ki he jong shakwati kila long so impressed by his talent even though dang they berang to join haka field his talent his commitment and his sincerity are the values which Mel in 7 short years crossed all boundaries to achieve a lot of things for himself professionally as a journalist. Na hakan kini kisnam kin kano arpo sang snam tam mga yad kani ka kajingem kung journalist mampat ji o reporter ni correspondent badan hafil bahapo lai sausnam ulala ban generate mansna kan network babyang ha ki officers ki buram ki edu ki politicians ki shimranyo ki buram ki paralok be trelang ru. They were inspired by him, and despite the fact that Mel was a very quiet man, he was also from the Jong Press Club, Young Manea condolence meeting. Mel was a very deep thinking person. Andrew ila batay shikadej pang the professional life Jong Mel iba in whatever capacity he never let anybody down. And I can say that with a certainty and confidence because I have seen it before my very own eyes. They have a penwaino at bangin yalam ngin ratno met kabasa yung email nakalyang yung Shillong Press Club on behalf of myself and my family. I pay my sincerest condolences, my respects, and of course a lot of pain to lose a dear brother who is just beginning to shine. Go in peace, bro. We know you're in a better place in the arms of your maker. Stay happy, look over us.
Ay, kubli ya pastor kirim pesan di prabagai bulan galang beri yang ni sekarang kesian ini dan dua kesi dua menin buat kejingjia kawan hak di jadi pada tiba nang kemau ini jiwai joki ulok udum niat lagi lagi na kiying di tam này công ban siêu hỏi cái gì nhiều mel gitu betul karta kadang kena palat bagi cái gì kadang dan kam kadang piti sibun lepen ban wanjong kurat ba ni ngimla susu ngimla sempang di bro put no kumni in lek no ndat ni hỏi mel was not was to dap dari jingir ki open sky yang ini sendiri jadi lek no work blame no tha la bang tajungu ini porang aku kubleiru takin ki portion ko pero bangin la si banjer keseng lawan badar dekat badni ismail keken ni mar sui sufang yu ai kubleiru ka office badar dekat badni nado mendin press club baro colleagues dung baro badar dekat badni nado si wo mendin adu mentar
jingkala sampai jingkin iwan badni kapor kabangiwan kapor balakha yang ini kiri kapor bangiwan ra kajing keman eka yeng kesat kapor kabangilai iwan ra ki umat ketau Andre hapadeng jom kata kapor kabawan bat kapor kabalai kidon kisnan ki ubriu bat kabriu ki im akan yang berjaya po jom kita kisnam jadi kisnam kita kejing keman kawan kejing songsi kawan Andre hapdeng jom kanu kejing lenti kebokong san kalong ubriu kawan ula pendam ya ka kamram kebau dewan pendam kisnam hoi kilong kibalingkot habang ipai Hagan ko kot ning kedok sa balathop di kasni kabakha bat kasni kabakha Andregen thau ya ka don ya ka jimut jo ka jingim ya ka jing lingkot ya ka jing jrom jo kistan min thau ya ka jingmut jo ka jingim bat ka dor jo ka jingim de ki kam ibau priyo ratrai bat dei hangta kaba ai bon ba kaba pentingan yupi ku kaye patakan ni kapor ya si ikintin jong kajing pentingan nanga ne kibahayeng ne kiparlok kalak benong kebateli ne kebasudah banujor kajing tang kemensin kajongpi riu blay balapa yunong pentingan mensin ingai bat ngidwai bat IAP kata kajing tengan
bat kapor ban ratno ia kata kamatu kapor ban penyam bat kapor ban pukia kapor ban penpera kapor ban penperano bat kapor ban tepan kapor ban jam bat kapor ban dekhi kapor ban singosi bat kapor ban syah kapor ban brandno ikimau bat kapor ban yulumlang ikimau kapor ban yapiam bat kapor ban omnipiam malong kata kajing mipat bat kata kajing im uta ubangai tanga laulayap unyo im bat ubreu baro ube im bat bangai tanga unom yapno lanu angai kata utrai kimen sim kicam niwan hangai kayin kisyakri kicam atrai kana banyo don rengkat lembat ki kan ko pa ba tham haba me la pangkarya no yo ko no bi choki men no jonki ube thanyo jonki man pangkarya no siladi nagi para bi traila hoy kajing pangkarya atrai kan lang kabala pendit ado kata kana kajing kajong bulai kajing yesulok umensim ko bentengan berpesai bor ikong ikon dan cidai kibi batanya batne sama pemelasyun sudah afai lemro batilungai kibamani besyak yemi kaleng serak pakai nado menta ala kata amen.
Cikum tungi lapoi sya kabukut jong katup khubor, sa sisien pat kublai shibon ye phi baro, tak ada haduk bagini syembiang kublai shibon.